Wall Street prodigy Stephen Millett and acclaimed artist Thalia Westcott seemed to have everything when they married in 1902. Fresh fortunes, formidable talent, and an instinct for spectacle. Yet their hilltop paradise would see more plot twists than a silent film melodrama, morphing from society's showplace to a refuge for families in crisis. Hi everyone, Ken here. Hit that subscribe button and let's explore this house. This video is brought to you in part by Victorian Society in America. More on them later. Stephen Millett grew up in Beaufort, South Carolina, quit school at 14, and clawed his way onto the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. By 29, he had launched Millett, Rowe & Hagen, the brokerage that would finance both Fenway Park and Braves Field, then go a step further and buy the Boston Braves outright. His new wife, New York-born Thalia Westcott, was equally unstoppable. She studied under modernist Randall Davy in Manhattan, refined her technique in Albert Andre's Paris studio, and filled New York's galleries with vibrant landscapes and floral still lifes. Society loved the contrast, numbers in paint, Wall Street in Montmartre, and the Millets rewarded themselves with an estate worthy of a transatlantic power couple. They purchased more than 40 acres on a hilltop overlooking the Hudson River in Irvington, New York, and set out to build their dream house. The mansion was heavily inspired by a number of English country houses, borrowing entire sections from various homes to incorporate into its design. With a steep roofline punctured by tall chimneys and towers, the red brick residence gave the couple the decidedly Tudor Revival feel they had set out to achieve. All about the main house, vast gardens were planned to stretch away from the residence, and from the upper floors, you could look out over the parterre gardens with views of the river adding to the tranquility. Let's turn around front and pull through the porte cochere just as any other visitor would have and begin exploring the house. But before we do, a quick word about the sponsor of today's video, Victorian Society in America. Are you captivated by historic architecture? Want to explore, learn, and dive even deeper into the past? With the Victorian Society in America, you'll have the chance to travel to American cities and tour stunning 19th century buildings, pursue learning through internationally acclaimed summer programs in American cities and abroad, including Chicago, Newport, and London to name a few. Additionally, members will enjoy a free subscription to 19th Century, the semi-annual publication packed with articles on art, architecture, preservation awards, and book reviews. Visit the website below in the video description and become part of the Victorian Society in America today. Thank you Victorian Society in America for sponsoring today's video. Now back to our tour. To enter the home, we find the front door tucked away below the porte cochere, encased in carved limestone blocks framing intricate Gothic tracery. After heading through the vestibule, we pass below a Gothic arch to find the grand staircase gracefully ascending beyond diamond-paned windows, carrying on the theme of more Gothic tracery. To complement this theme further, a massive antique European tapestry has been hung on the wall opposite the grand staircase. Let's continue through the opening at the end of this room. This leads us to the library, where alcoves are delineated by painted pointed arches and the walls are lined with built-in bookshelves. All of this set below a ribbed cove ceiling, converging on an incredibly ornate bit of plaster tracery in the center. We can get a better look at those alcoves, noting that they conceal bay windows with built-in window seats, creating the coziest of reading nooks. Next we'll make our way into the music room, where we can imagine a piano being played softly as we take in the oak paneling and trace the plaster ceiling's delicate geometry with our eyes. In breaking with the themes we've seen so far in the house, but no less grand, we find the dining room clad in painted wall panels. We can imagine the couple dining in the bay window when not entertaining, taking in the vista views over the Hudson River with every bite. For about a decade, the house was a social calendar in stone, Hudson River cruises, garden fetes, charity teas, but the marriage that powered it began to fray. Stephen was perpetually shuttling between Irvington and Wall Street. Thalia's heart drifted towards Europe, where she found fresh inspiration and galleries eager for her work. In 1920, she filed for divorce, shocking their circle and decamping to Paris with canvases in tow, and the once beloved mansion landed on the market amid the wreckage. The mansion changed hands a couple times over the next few years, and in 1924, it reopened as Irvington House for Cardiac Children, a pioneering convalescent center for kids battling rheumatic fever. The setting was picturesque, medicine, fresh air, river light, and quiet lawns, but fate had another dramatic turn. An electrical fire in 1930 reduced the wooden showplace to embers. While the mansion no longer stands, we can be thankful for the few high-quality photos that keep its legend alive. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. Which part of the house was your favorite? Let me know down below in the comments section. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to Victorian Society in America for sponsoring this video. Check out their link in the video description to find out how you can get involved today. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time on This House.